You have a Storm Category 5, a WRAITH X, or the Heretic Labs Tank Grip. I'm Sam, and today I'm going to teach you about the fundamentals of these products and how to take care of them on today's What the Tech. So can you spot the difference in all these three products? I mean, besides the obvious, they have a different cap and different furniture on them. Inside all three of these products is the same core technology. The number one reason you may have issues with your regulator if it's overpressurizing or not acting just right is because of FOD, which stands for Foreign Object Debris. This could be dirt, dust, or even metal shavings getting into the system and causing the O-rings to either become damaged or not seal properly. A way to prevent this would be to keep your ports clean, your tank clean, and even put lube on the threads of the regulator. And around every 50,000 shots, you're going to want to take some silicone spray and spray into the vent hole. First of all, if you're working with a WRAITH X or a tank grip, you'll need to remove the regulator. We have full videos on both those products linked below. Each version disassembles in more or less the same way. Begin with removing the retaining screws around the base with a 1.5mm hex key. Once you have the locking screws taken out, I would suggest taking a 3/32 hex key and backing the pressure screw out to where it's flush with the cap. That way the core will stay oriented in this direction when you take the reg base off. To take the reg base off, you're going to want to take the 3/32 hex key and feed it through these two holes here in the base of the regulator. And then it should just come apart like this. On the WRAITH X, you might want to use something to protect your hands from the threads. Finish taking out the pressure adjustment screw, set it aside. And then to get the core out, you can just take and slap it right out. Moving on to maintenance, you can see I've got the Storm Cat 5 on tank regulator disassembled in front of me. All of the principles I'm going to show you here apply to the other regulators that I've shown you. You may want to start with the cap and take a nice paper towel that's not going to lint up on you and just run it in there, clean out the cap, and then once you look inside of it and it looks good and clean, no debris, we can set that aside. After you cleaned out the cap, grab you an O-ring pick and go ahead and take the O-rings out of the base with just one and the regulator seat. Take the same rag or a new one and clean off the lubrication. And this here is the core. Start by taking off the adjustment spacer and then the adjustment spring base and then the springs. And your piston may or may not have another part on here that is a shim. If it has the shim, make sure to take it off, clean it, and reinstall it. And then take the O-ring off the piston, if I can get this on there. There's also an O-ring here in the adjustment spacer. And then you'll want to take and wipe and clean off all these parts. When doing this, you need to make sure that you're careful of the surfaces in the core of the regulator. Like here on the piston, this surface here that is technically at the bottom of the piston is very fine, and if you were to drop it or do damage to that surface, you may see that your regulator starts creeping or over pressurizing. Clean off all the lubrication, even get into the groove. I find that if you take and fold over an edge and just do that, it works really good. I'm going to go ahead and change out the O-rings in our regulator. So here you can see I have some of the older ones and the old reg seat. So we can just get rid of those and use our new ones. So we're going to start with you taking the adjustment spacer and the 1.5 by 8 O-ring and getting it in here. Now this may be a little tricky, but trust me, you can get it. Yep, just like that. Take the 1.5 by 19 O-ring and put it on the piston. And then we'll just go ahead and do the ones for the base. Take the reg seat, drop it in there, and take the O-ring and just kind of set it on there like that. We're going to take some lubrication, and you'll want to put a little bit of lube on the piston shaft. We'll explain that in a little bit. If your regulator had a shim that was on the piston, you will start with the shim. Mine didn't have a shim, but you do need to put the shim at this time on. On screen now you can see the spring washer orientation guide that's found in the owner's manuals. You'll want to follow that whenever putting it back together, because if you don't, your pressures could be all over the place. Once you've gotten this far, you can either choose to try, if you have a small enough applicator, to put some lubrication down in here to get on the O-ring and the adjustment spacer, but your best bet will probably be to put just a little bit more lubrication on the piston shaft, and then put the adjustable spring base on, and orienting it, because you have this cutout here in the adjustment spacer with this ramp here on the spring base. So that lubrication now that's on the shaft will help lubricate the O-ring inside the adjustment spacer. Lubricate the O-ring here on the piston, and then you may want to run some around the outside of the core just to help it go into the cap better. Take and put just a little bit of lubrication on this O-ring here. You don't want to get it down onto the reg base. Once you've done that, you can reassemble the regulator. So now let's put this one back together. We're going to put it in and orientate the adjustment screw hole. May be a little difficult when you first try, but if you wiggle it enough, it will go in. Then you're going to take the adjustment screw. You'll screw it in just enough to where it sits flush with this surface. Screw the reg base on. Take a hex key, run it through the two holes again, and it should be about that much. Now we'll take the locking screws and put them back in. On the WRAITH X, when you've taken the core out and you're cleaning out the cap, you may also want to clean out this surface here and or change out the O-ring that sits in here. The O-ring is a 2x6. Take it out, replace it with another one, re-lube it, and you should be good to go. Well, wasn't that fun? Now you know how to take apart your Cat 5 regulator, your WRAITH X, or the Heretic Labs Tank Grip. We hope you had fun as much as I had fun making this video. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the cool stuff like that. This is Sam signing out.